Welcome to another episode of Addiction Uncovered, where we talk about the truth behind addiction and hear inspirational stories of recovery. I'm your host, Jill, and today I'm joined by Austin. Austin had dreams of becoming a professional baseball player, but his life was turned upside down when he tragically lost his best friend to suicide just before high school graduation. After a year of college baseball, the pandemic hit, and he spiraled into a daily binge drinking and eventually hard drug use. Today, he is 1 year alcohol-free on his path to self-discovery, pursuing his calling of helping others in the mental health field. So thank you for joining us, Austin.
Thank you for having me.
It's so exciting to celebrate your 1 year alcohol-free anniversary today.
Very exciting.
That's so amazing.
It's been a long year, but...
Yeah. So tell us a little bit, take us back. Where did your struggle with addiction begin, do you think?
So I would say I really had addictive tendencies that I could track back to childhood as early as 9. So I would binge eat and I would do all these things. And so I had an ADHD diagnosis, I believe in 5th grade, which was very evident and clear. And that came with some behaviors that were very obsessive, and so that became evident early on, but I was always scared of drugs and alcohol. My parents did a good job. They did as good as they can.
They scared you away from it.
They sure did. But I would say in high school, I started smoking a little bit of weed, stuff like that. And then when I first drank, I think it was a state baseball party or something. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. I can talk to people. I'm not socially anxious, because that's always been a problem for me. But yeah, so from then on, it was really just a matter of accessibility. I didn't really have clear access to it because I didn't know a lot of people and I was afraid to ask. So I went into my first year of college. Drinking wasn't really a problem then because we had a very structured regimen with baseball. And then the pandemic happened. And so pandemic, I obviously started spiraling. I was around all the wrong people. And yeah, I ended up getting a fake ID. And then, so I really started drinking then. But then when I turned 21, I drank every day from 21 to 24-ish. So, yeah.
It just became readily available to you.
Yeah. No, I was like, oh, this is amazing. I can legally buy it from any gas station. It's everywhere. It's all around you. And I just completely went off the grid. I was a solo drinker until I wasn't. I started going out, and that kind of thing introduced me to cocaine. Sorry, Mom. And all these other things. So yeah. That's kind of where it started. Mm-hmm.
Well, you talked about ADHD and some social anxiety when you were younger.
Absolutely.
So, at least for me, drinking relieved my social anxiety. So it's I can be fun, I can be funny, I can be cool. People think that I'm a lot of fun. I mean, I'm sure it got annoying at some point, right? But to me, it was I can socialize with it. It helped me. But actually, in the long we know it causes anxiety, so it just is good at tricking us, right?
Right, yeah, and I think it was great for social anxiety, but the second I started drinking in isolation, which was pretty much as soon as I turned 21, when I was drinking at home, and I'm somebody who loves isolation, but it's terrible for me. I like time alone, but my mental health spirals in these situations, and I think too much, and all these things, so... And another thing on that would be, so lost my best friend senior year. So that obviously changed pretty much everything.
Oh, sure.
Found a great therapist who helped me through a lot of that. But most of it, he made me want to pursue mental health as a career, all this stuff. And then 3 years later, on the same day, he committed suicide. And that's when everything kind of fell apart. I found out from a news article, had no idea it was him at first, and so yeah, that kind of thing was okay, the world hates me, So might as well hate myself and just keep drinking and drinking and drinking and do whatever just gives me pleasure for the next minute, whatever it may be.
So just almost waiting for that next tragedy to hit, because the world now is a scary place, and the only thing predictable is loss.
Right. Yeah, and I would get stuck in my own thoughts a lot. I didn't know how to turn it off, and the way I figured out to turn it off was to numb it. And so that brings up a lot of challenges even to this day now, where it's like I'm relearning how to socialize like sober.
Weird, right?
Yeah, especially when I couldn't socialize before. So
Yeah, it is. It's different, but it feels like there's a different level of connection. But I wonder too, when you're sober and you're like having friendships or you're having these interactions, like you can actually hear it and you can feel it. I remember the first conversation that I really had with someone when I was sober, and he said something very kind to me, and I thought, wow, I remember you saying that. And before, I just wouldn't have remembered.
Right.
So there's this like level of vulnerability, but also this really cool level of connection too.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. There's a disconnect when, especially you're on a depressant that works very well. And so, yeah, that's been one of the biggest challenges. But like you said, one of the biggest upsides is like I'm remembering things from my childhood I didn't know I had as memories. All this stuff, good things, bad things, but I'll take that over forgetting all day. So
Yeah. How did that work with your ADHD? So drinking and having ADHD.
My impulse control with no inhibitions from the alcohol was like everything was what is a quick hit of dopamine. So then I ended up getting into gambling addiction, online gambling. So it was like a steady thing of, cocaine and alcohol and online gambling all in my room, just all in the comfort of my home. And so, yeah, I think it's just that constant need for a dopamine hit. Like, I really feel like I'm just addicted to dopamine, and that's kind of the stem of my addiction. Because, like, things like cocaine I didn't otherwise like unless I was drinking. So it all started with the alcohol, and that just kind of it took away any impulse control I did have.
Yeah. Which is scary, right?
Very.
And then you think about being in isolation, and so using as much as you were, and then online gambling on top of that. I think sometimes we assume, well, since I'm isolating, I'm not hurting anybody else, and we don't have a lot of. I'm assuming that you're kind of like me. You've dealt with a lot more tragedy in your life than I have, but I just think it doesn't really matter if it's hurting me, as long as it's not hurting everybody else.
Right.
Then that's okay, because maybe I don't deserve that, or whatever you're thinking in your mind. But was that ever a thought of, since I'm not hurting anybody else, this is fine?
100%. And I think like things, because I've dealt with mental health in the past anyways, like bipolar disorder and stuff like that. And the thing that always kept me alive was the fact that I couldn't do that to my loved ones. But if I'm in isolation, nobody sees that but me. So I can destroy myself. They'll see the effects of it, but I won't realize it in that moment because I'm drunk all the time. So yeah, that is definitely an element of it that made it particularly dangerous.
When we think about the vulnerability of connecting to other people, because especially if you've experienced really significant loss like you did, when you connect to other people, there's a risk. There's a risk that you can lose that relationship, or that you can lose that person to some tragedy, or that you'll disappoint them. Like, how did you move through trusting yourself to connect with other people eventually?
After getting sober?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was kind of doing it the wrong way at first. So
Okay.
I dove right into going to the same places that I went before, but I was like, oh, I can prove that I can do it to myself, or go into these environments sober. But then what I realized is I need sober supports to talk to learn how to socialize again, because these are not the people that I'm moving forward with. They say, like, you go sober, you are going to lose all your friends. Luckily, my best friend Reese had gone sober a couple years prior. Otherwise, I don't think I would have believed that, you know, quitting drinking at 24, it's like the party just started, you know?
Yeah, so young.
Yeah, and he did it at 22, so he kind of laid the blueprint for me to see that it was possible. And I was a bit of a dry drunk at first.
What does that mean to you?
So not using any resources, just I went on a really bad bender around this time last year, and I was like, man, I just can't do it anymore. I ran out of money. I was in debt. I took out like a bunch of credit card debt to do the gambling and everything. And I think it just hit me one night because I ran out of alcohol. I ran out of all this stuff. And I'm like, something has to change. But I don't know how I hung on through that first month or so. But I kind of I was still in isolation. And that's when I realized, like, oh, I have to reach out to people and I have to connect with people and take the steps. So I started going to like smart recovery meetings and stuff like that. And that kind of opened the door to the sober world for me.
How did you get support for gambling addiction? Because I think you might be one of the first people that I've talked to, which is crazy because this is obviously a very big issue in our community in Nebraska and Iowa now. But how did you find support for your gambling addiction?
It kind of treated alongside like the alcohol for me, because once I was sober, like the idea of gambling disgusted me.
Oh,
like,
why is that?
Losing money and everything, but it was the mix of, you know, stimulants plus alcohol, and it was just like, oh, I want more money, more quick dopamine hits. And then I sobered up and I'm like, I'm just losing money. Like, you're not getting anything out of this. So I don't think it was truly, or at least I didn't let it get far enough to be a gambling addiction. It was at the time, but yeah, I guess it kind of got treated with my alcohol.
Oh, okay, because it kind of went hand in hand.
Right, yes.
I see. Okay,
yes.
That makes sense. I understand that. You know, I think we have a lot to learn about gambling addiction. I know we have people that specialize in that area, but it's just it's a whole nother ball game. You still can, it's obviously something that can be treated and people can recover from it, right? And it can be just as detrimental to people as substances.
Absolutely. And I don't think it's seen the same because it's like it's a different action. It's not a chemical going into your body, but it's releasing the same chemicals in your brain. So people don't see it the same, but now they're making it so you can do it on your phone. Like you can probably kids are smart. They can probably get past the age verification and do it from their phones. And like, there's gambling for everything now. You can gamble on nuclear war happening. Like, it is so unbelievable how accessible they've made it. And I think that's going to be like it's already a big problem, but it's going to become a really big problem.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned a lot about the dopamine hits. And so it's about what behavior or what substance are you using to get those dopamine hits.
Right.
It's the same, what you're saying is kind of the same foundation for you.
Right.
And then when you were able to reduce one and eliminate one, then the other just kind of, you got more clarity and said, this is not what I want to be doing with my money.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Wow. So how did you finally decide to get sober and get sober? You said you were going to smart recovery meetings, but what was really that turning point for you?
So yeah, it was that one last bender I had where just a lot of, like, I didn't even have the money to support these habits anymore. So I sweated it out for like a week, because I was about a fifth a day at that point.
So you're literally having withdrawals.
Withdrawals, yeah. Like, I would wake up like choking in my sleep kind of thing. Probably should have gone into detox or something, but I think when I was about a month in, I was like, okay, I'm clear enough from this. The good thing about ADHD is that at least for me, is I easily lose sight of things I love, like quickly, if it's not right in front of me. So I forgot what feeling drunk felt like, which was almost ADHD working in my advantage for once. But then I was like, what do I need to take that next step where I feel like I'm improving with sobriety? Because it felt like I was just struggling through it. And that's when I kind of started talking to my therapist. I've been going to therapy weekly for about a year now.
Was that hard to find and to kind of lean into therapy again after you had that loss?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I ended up seeing one more therapist after him. Saw that therapist for about 2 years. I went right back into therapy, which was really difficult for me, but I knew I had to do it. And luckily my mom has all the resources to find good ones in the world. So, and my current one, I just love. I feel like I kind of grew out of the last person, but they were great. And so this one was kind of just real with me and was like, you need sober people around you. You can't keep living the same and expect to kind of live a different life, because sobriety is a completely different life. Like you're flipping the chapter. So, I guess, yeah, just changing the scenery and environment around me, I realized was key to making that next step.
Yeah, this can be scary though, right? Because you are really trying to find your own identity and who you are without the substances or without the addiction.
Right.
And what kind of people you want to be around. I remember the first time that I went somewhere and I hung out with the same people that I always hung out with, and I'm like, just not feeling it anymore. Like,
No.
there's just not the connection when we were drinking. It's all great, but it just isn't there as much when there's not.
Right. Exactly. And a realization I've had like just recently was I never really discovered who I was or what I liked before. Like, I know I like so I'm into cars, I'm into sports, obviously, but like I didn't know a lot about myself before the drinking. So it's like almost like discovering myself for the first time, it feels like.
Which is kind of fun, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Whereas like when I was drinking, I was like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. This is just breaking down the barrier of social anxiety I have. This is who I am. When in reality, it was the opposite. So I'm not the most extroverted person, and I've kind of come to accept that, but I can still socialize a little bit. But yeah.
You can still socialize without using anything.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
That was like an impossible concept when I was in the midst of addiction, because you're like, how am I going to be 23 years old and not have a drink in my hand or not be able to go out on the weekends? Like, what do you do?
Yeah. Or thinking, I'm so young, this is going to be the rest of my life.
Right.
And looking at it in a way of like, what am I going to do? Versus like, okay, like I'm going to have more money. I'm going to have more energy. Like I'm probably going to live longer. Like
Right.
instead of looking at it in a really positive way, it feels like it feels like eternity.
Right. Exactly. And that's another good point is like that. I think we have like the tendency to look so long term where it's like so daunting that you're looking at it, another ADHD thing, where it's like, it feels like, oh, I have to look at the entire scope of things instead of zooming in on today, which is what I still have to focus on to ground myself. Because if you just like focus on, oh, what's this decision mean for the rest of my life? That's just terrifying. What can I do today and be present? And what will this do for me right now? Yeah.
But what would you tell somebody who is struggling right now with their drinking or with drug use or with a gambling addiction? What do you think they need to know?
You're more capable than you might think you are. Negative self-talk and shame and guilt do nothing but drag you down further. I feel like I have other things.
Oh, I'm sure you have lots of other things to share.
Yeah. write down the things you do know for certain about yourself, that you love about yourself, or that the people that you know you love truly, and try to cling on to those things. In regards to getting sober supports are vital in my eyes. And, try to take it one day at a time.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, not thinking too far out in the future of this decision I'm making today is going to impact the rest of my life. And if you decide to not engage in those behaviors or take the drink or whatever it is that you're doing that had not been helpful to you, I mean, the hope is in the long run that, this decision to not use today is going to be a really positive one. But in reality, you have to continue to make the decision every day.
Right.
You're a year in today.
Yeah.
And is it that you made that decision a year ago and you've never had to think about it again?
Nope. It's
right?
Every day when you don't expect it, when you do expect it, it's so even shortening it down to 30 minutes for some people, like, oh, I'm 30 minutes sober. That's the start. Mm-hmm. Then you go to, I'm an hour sober. Oh, I'm getting somewhere. I'm 3 hours sober. Like, you really got to zoom in initially to kind of gain that perspective, because you just can't look too long term on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you mentioned that your calling is to helping people who are struggling with mental health. Tell us more about that.
So I definitely have my mom's heart. I never knew I wanted to pursue being a therapist or anything like that, but I kind of saw what she did, and I was like, that's pretty cool. Like, she gets to talk to people for a living. I didn't realize till I was older that I feel deeper than some people, I would say. I'm a little too empathetic sometimes, but I think with my own experiences and everything I've learned about it, and these things bother me for other people, but other people don't see it. So I don't know. I guess I became like the friend group's therapist at first, and then I was like, okay, I think I'm kind of good at this. People are coming to me for things, even when I was doing not very well myself. That's kind of when I realized, like, oh, this is something I'm good at, and I don't know, we're all driven by something we're good at. Mm-hmm. So,
well, and you have a lot of your own lived experience,
right,
in both the mental health world and in the addiction realm too. Mm-hmm. So I think that goes a long way. And as a therapist, it doesn't always mean that we're sharing everything about what we've gone through unless it's helpful. But just being able to empathize with people, mm-hmm. and know, and they can just tell. You don't have to tell them. Right. They just look at you and be like, this guy has been there and done that, and he knows what it feels like. I can just tell, right, that he feels deeply about people and cares about people, mm-hmm. and he's probably been through some stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was another thing is, like, there was kind of, I used to kind of, like, shame myself for it, for, like, feeling so deeply, because there's, especially when you're in, say, high school or whatever, you're like, no crying in baseball, things like that, like little things like that add mm-hmm. up, and then it's like, why am I so emotional? Why am I crying at this video? This is so stupid. Mm. Whereas really it's like, okay, this is just a part of me, and I can use this to help other people instead of, dwelling on it and shaming myself for it, which is, not the right way.
No, and looking at it as a strength.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and really embracing it, because mm-hmm. you know that in order to help people, you have to have empathy.
Right.
You have to have a big heart for people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I love that you've turned that into a strength as opposed to, something that's a hindrance or something to be shameful about. Mm-hmm. Because I think that real deep connection that you can have with people will help a lot of people in the rooms once you get to that point of being able to do that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure. So that's your long-term goal. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure, through this podcast and through other ways, just your interactions with people, I'm sure that they've sensed that too. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed that the people that you're around, now that you are sober and you've changed your supports, what's it like with those relationships now? How does that look different?
So I have my one best friend, Reese, as I mentioned. But like my relationships with my sisters is substantially better. I was very reactionary, and there was no stopping the flood of emotions, and so I just shut down and they never saw me. So reconnecting with people that I know I'm comfortable with because I grew up with, like my family, was a big thing for me, and kind of just breaking that ice to get socializing again and around people. Yeah, that's kind of,
it's good.
Yeah,
that's good. See,
yeah.
it's fine. That happens.
It's fine.
So how do you plan to celebrate if you're anything like me? Anytime that I was going to be celebrating something, it was going to be with drinking.
Yep.
Because you're excited. This is a good thing. We've accomplished it. But we don't do that anymore. Mm-hmm. We live a different life that just isn't a part of us anymore.
Right.
So how do you plan to celebrate your 1 year anniversary?
That's kind of what's funny about it is, so my birthday is March 10th, and how I managed to quit 4 days before doesn't make any sense. I like it. Looking back, I'm like, I could have quit March 11th or whatever, but dinner with family, probably, hanging out with friends. I play in a darts league now.
Cool.
So that's kind of replaced baseball for me, and it's a little bit of a blend of like both worlds I lived, which is like, it's a throwing sport, it's competitive, but it's also in a bar, or it's in a little lounge or whatever. So, yeah, trying to do things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And sometimes those quiet nights or moments with friends and family, that's the best way to celebrate you and the things that you've accomplished too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming here and sharing your story. And I'm sure there will be a lot of people that will hear the story, and especially hear in the loss that you've gone through and the different struggles you had, that are really going to relate. And I think it will show them that despite what they might be going through right now, that there is hope. They can come out on the other side and like hang out with us sober people and still have a lot of good connections and a lot of fun and feel good about themselves too.
Thank you for giving me a platform to speak on. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.